Hey, I'm Brent Hall, and today I'm going to go over a basic introduction to the Galaxy Note 8 camera system.
I'm going to use the drift method. Freaking incredible. Round F16 for that to get that sunburst.
So I've done a few other videos on the Note 8 and the camera stuff and the video stuff, and there are a little more other tutorials and reviews and stuff like that, but I haven't actually done like just a super simple basic camera accessing, sorry about the cat, stuff. So for people who have never used a Samsung or the Note series or an S8 or anything like that, so I'm just going to kind of go over like how to get into the camera, the different modes, how to select them, the different settings that you should have for different things, and just some super basic stuff. So let's get into that. All right, so the first thing is there's a couple of ways to get into the camera, and my favorite way is just by turning it on, and from the lock screen then you can just swipe that open like that. So now we're in our camera. The other way is from your main menu. I put my camera down here so it's always there on my home screen. I think it's there by default anyways. So those are the two basic ways into the camera. All right, so let's talk about the settings real quick. The way to get into the settings is up here in the top right is the little icon, the little gear looking icon. So we're gonna click that, and that's gonna take us into all of our camera settings, and this is for both the video and the stills. So by default, I think it was set to this 18 by 5 by 9, 18 by 5 by 9, whatever. So if you'll notice, it has in the parentheses, the number is the megapixels. So if you want the highest megapixels, the highest resolution, then you're going to be up here, and that's going to be in the 4:3. So what that's going to look like is, so this is the box here that you have, and that ratio is 4:3. If you change that, or if you want it to cover the entire width of the screen, then you can go back up here and you can put it in 16 by 9 or in 18 by 5/7 by that. You get the idea. You put it in the full screen mode, and see, now you'll see it covers edge to edge. And if I do the 16 by 9, whoops, the 9.1 megapixel. See, now you'll see we get the traditional film 16 by 9 aspect ratio. Just keep in mind that all of those other ratios, whoops, they might be nice, but they're still going to lose a little bit of megapixels in terms of resolution. So if you want the most detail out of it, keep it in 4:3 at 12 megapixels. So that's what I have mine set at. So the next thing, video size, I keep mine in the UHD, which is the standard 4K, and sometimes I'll put it in the 60 frames per second if I want some 1080 slow motion. Okay, next setting by default that we want to talk about is the HDR mode. That's going to help you get the most dynamic range out of the phone, and dynamic range means the amount of light that it can capture from the lightest part of the image to the darkest part of the image. So by default, that's set to auto. You can either put it always on or always off. I just leave mine in auto, and that means that when you're in auto mode, this won't work if you're in pro mode, but if you're in any of the auto modes, it will do the best it can to get the most dynamic range out of the image. So I just go ahead and leave that on. And then the same thing with the front camera. So if you're using the selfie mode or anything if you're doing any pictures with the front camera, then again, I set it to its highest megapixels, which is the 8, and again, that's at the 4:3. So if you want a different aspect ratio for the front, you could change that there. So the timer, that's by default, that's set to off, and this is for if you want to do a self timer, if you're doing a selfie, or if you want to run in front, you know, and have it on tripod or whatever. If you're doing long exposure, you can set it to 2, 5, or 10 seconds, and it'll wait 2, 5, or 10 seconds to take the picture. So that's very handy. The grid lines are really handy. I keep mine on 3:3, and those are basically to help you with composition. So if you want to know more about that kind of stuff, you can check out some of my other tutorials. I'll have the links in the description for below for those. But basically that's just to help you compose things and use the rule of thirds, and I keep mine on 3x3, or you can just turn it off. Location tags is if you want it geotagged, so if you want to take a picture and then remember where that is on Google Maps or whatever and look up the location, then you can do that there. There's another way to open the camera here in the quick launch, and it says open the camera quickly by pressing the power key twice. So I don't ever remember that, so I don't ever do it. But it's cool that it's there. There's a lot of voice controls, so that's pretty self-explanatory. If you turn those on, then you can control it by telling it those words. The floating camera button, that will basically allow you to touch the screen anywhere, and it'll take a picture wherever you touch. So if you're holding it awkwardly and you can't really reach over to touch that, that's kind of handy. I don't ever use that function though. The volume key function, so you can turn that on to take pictures through the volume key here, so that's kind of handy. Shutter sound on or off, that's pretty self-explanatory, so if you need to be quiet about it, then turn it off. Okay, so those are the basic camera settings, and that's how you get into them. So we'll go over a couple of other things. This has a bunch of different modes, and I really like the power that it offers. So by default, you're in auto, which is this here, and the Note 8 is really cool because it has two lenses. It has a wide and a telephoto, so if you click the ×2 there, then that'll zoom in and that'll use the telephoto lens. So that's what you're seeing there, and I really, really like that. There is also the live focus mode, which is another fancy mode to help you blur the background. If you want to know more about that, again, check out my Note 8 review, and I go into much more detail about that. So that's there. Hit the back button to get out of it. Bixby Vision, I haven't used that. That's to, apparently if you take a picture of something and you have your Bixby set up, then it can look it up online for you or whatever. The stickers here, there's all kinds of weird stickers that you can put and faces that you can put on people. Again, I haven't really played around with those. It is not Friday, camera. So here, let's talk about these buttons over here. This is your flash. And if you're in auto, you can tell it to be the flash can be in auto mode, or it can be always turned on, or if it has a line through it, then that's all the way off. So I have mine off right now because I don't need it. And then here, this will show you the full screen. It will only take the picture in whatever setting you have, but it will display the full screen if you want to see that. So I have mine to keep it at the proper aspect ratio. And this camera button here toggles the, hey look, there's me. So that toggles the front-facing camera. These buttons are pretty self-explanatory, I think. This is your gallery. That'll open up the last images that you took, or whatever's in your camera gallery. This is to take a picture, and this is to record. So there's no difference between the video and the photo modes. It's all in one. If you want to take a photo, you click the big white button. If you want to start recording video, you hit the little red recordy button. So the next thing is going into the different modes, accessing them. You just swipe this way, and that will give you access, and it'll show you it's in auto. Then you can go to Pro mode here, and in Pro mode you'll have all of these new controls, which will let you control your ISO, and you can crank it up to change the exposure, or crank it all the way down. And your shutter speed, you can crank that up or crank it all the way down. Your autofocus points, that'll let you control your auto, or this will let you do it in manual focus. So if the little mountain here, can you see that, the little mountain there? That's the symbol for infinity. The mountains are really far away apparently. And this little flower, that's the symbol for macro, so like super close. So there's my beautiful dragon ring. And you'll notice you get that wonderful blurred background. So that's controlling it in manual. Then you have the white balance here, and it's in auto right now, and that controls the temperature. So it has some presets like daylight, so we'll keep it on daylight. Then there's shade, and you get the picture there. So that's your white balance. Those are the controls in the Pro mode. So let's get back over here, and you have a panorama mode. If you put it in that, it'll give you directions on how to, you hold the phone and pan it this way or pan it that way or whatever, and that'll give you the panoramas. So then you have slow motion. If you want to do slow motion video, there's only one setting the slow motion video can be at, and that's 720p at 240 frames a second. So that's there's no changing that. So if you put it in there, that's what it will record at. There's the hyperlapse mode. This is like a time lapse. So if you set it here and you want it to take interval pictures, then what you can do, you can go up here to this little guy. This menu will change. You can click on that and do the speed. So if you want it to play back at 32 times the original speed, it'll record like a video, and it'll tell you how long you're recording in real time. And then it'll also tell you next to that how long the actual shot will be. Sorry about that, my cat just knocked over a chair. Okay, so the next mode that I really enjoy that I didn't think I would is the food mode. And basically, if you see the circle, you can click on it and you see how it blurs this part out, and then everywhere where my hand is clear. So this is really nice for food, and what it's doing is it's creating a radial blur around the blurred out areas, and it's going to make whatever is inside this little circle here is going to be in focus, and then everything else is going to have a radial blur applied to it to make it look out of focus. And you can use this for more than just food mode. If you're taking a picture of objects, it's really cool. If you're taking a picture of, well, food obviously, but I've done a lot of other cool photos with it with not just in food, so that's cool that that's there. The virtual shot, I haven't really played with that too much, but basically that's like if you want to take a picture of an object, then you can place the object somewhere on the screen and then rotate the phone around it, and it'll play it back like a virtual clip. So those are all the modes there. So that's all the basic modes in there for the camera, and that's how you get to them. Swipe it. If you notice how I have my phone in horizontal mode right now, so if I had the phone turned vertical, then I would swipe it this way. But if I have it turned like this, if you swipe it vertically, then that gets you to the lovely front-facing camera. So I'll bring it back that way. So if you swipe up and down while it's horizontal, that'll give you to the phone to switch the camera view. And if you swipe it horizontally, that'll get you to your camera modes. Okay, so last thing. So you can either hit this to zoom in like I did there, or it has the pinch zoom function. And if you pull it out like that, then it'll zoom in. And you see the numbers here, the ×2 in yellow. That means that when it hits ×2, that's the amount of the optical zoom that it can do. Any further that you zoom in like that is going to be a digital zoom, and that's going to create a much bigger loss in image quality since it's a digital zoom. So that's why it's in the yellow at 2.0. to let you know that that's the sweet spot for the ×2 using the telephoto lens. And then if you hit the ×1 or just zoom all the way out, then you're using the wide angle lens. All right, so that's it. That's a super simple intro to the workings of the camera and the settings and all that stuff. If you want to know more, I have a bunch of other tutorials on there where I go more into depth, so you can check out my in-depth review of the camera. And if you want to know more about the video, you can check out the video review that I did. And then I have a couple other tutorials like my how to shoot long exposure waterfalls with a cell phone, so you can check that out. Those will all be in the description below. If you have any questions about anything I missed or anything else that you want to know concerning the Note 8, leave them in the comments below and I will get back to you. And if you like this video and you want to see more like it, definitely make sure you subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. 'Cause I was there by your side. With my eyes open wide. Hey, I'm Brent Hall, and aside from playing Dr. Evil, oh my god, there's a cat in my lap. She's just not gonna leave.